Hey everyone, Barry's here. So before this video starts, I just want to do a little marketing for the brand new Discord server that just went up. I've been seeing just how many of you are enjoying these old High Moon games, and I thought it would be fun to make a Discord where we can have some community game nights, custom character fashion shows, or even just some community challenges. I spent a lot of time setting it up, so if you play these old High Moon games, then you are absolutely welcome here. If you just care about the lore, then I've got you covered too, as there's a whole section of the Discord strictly discussing the lore. The link will be in the description, and I look forward to seeing some familiar faces. Anyway, a little while ago I covered the Age of Wrath. Make sure you go check out that video, as this one is a sort of sequel video to that. In this video, we will be discussing the brief golden age of Cybertron, the establishment of the colony worlds, and the horrific plague that brought the Cybertronian Empire to its knees. After the Cybertronians had defeated the Quintessons, they were left with a wealth of technology that was abandoned by their previous oppressors. They had a rough understanding of what the technology was, portals between points of space and time. The Quintessons called them space bridges. While originally constructed to transport large quantities of transformers off-world for slave labor, the Cybertronians managed to reverse engineer the space bridges, among with other Quintesson technologies. They used the space bridges to begin the expansionism of the Cybertronian Empire, colonizing and terraforming different planets. Zeta Prime and his scientists were worried about the populations of these colony planets, however, and begun experiments to ensure that Cybertronian life could be born on these colony planets if they were ever to be cut off from Cybertron itself. In case you're wondering, no, they don't do that. This video will not be age restricted, damn it. Cybertronians are born from the Well of Allsparks, a location on Cybertron, which is considered sacred, as it is the origin point for creating the sparks of new Transformers. Once the scientists had developed a theoretical solution to the colony's survival, they ordered each colony planet to build a mimic of the Well of Allsparks. Because I guess building something that is the equivalent of the Garden of Eden is just something we can do. I don't know, sure, let's build a new Tim Hortons for our beaver overlords while we're at it. Once completed, a ceremony was held in which Zeta Prime transported the newly created spark from the well to Iacon, to which he sent it through the space bridge to the first colony world of Archon, to which the colony's leader, Metalhawk, I'm pretty sure that's the name of a plane that's in my novel, took the spark to the artificial copy of the Well of Allsparks. The copy of the well hummed to life, and with it came the assurance that the Cybertronian people could survive on their colony worlds. The age of expansionism was joyful for the Cybertronians, who saw new life emerge on colony planets from similar copies of the Well of Allsparks. However, over time, the Keeper of the Wells, what a name by the way, reported the slowing generation of new life from the copies of the well, and seeing as how they had been cannibalizing the original well on Cybertron, Zeta Prime decided to become more conservative with powering the colony's wells, instead focusing solely on the well on Cybertron. The colonies effectively became cut off from Cybertronian life, and Zeta Prime's image became tarnished for his seeming lack of care when it came to the outer colonies. Before any kind of civil war could come about, however, something rapturous began to slowly make itself known. Rumors around Cybertron grew of a transport ship that had been infected with a horrible disease that corroded any metal it came in contact with the terrifying detail that the disease can even infect Transformers. Now, calling it a disease is a bit of a mislabeling. Science time. So the reason why metal rusts in the first place is because of built-up moisture in the atmosphere, with the iron atoms reacting to oxygen and creating iron oxide. Why am I talking about this? I only passed chemistry because I bribed my teacher. What am I talking about? It is likely that this rust disease originated from an unknown planet that Cybertronian pioneers wished to colonize. However, upon their arrival, they noticed the quick buildup of rust and left the planet in a hurry. However, their quick exit would not stop the disease from corroding them all, leading them to deactivate and turn to dust, as any metal that corroded only added to the moisture in the air, therefore creating more rust. This rumor turned out to be true when news quickly spread of the plague ravaging colony worlds, and spreading between them using the space bridges. The Cybertronians quickly attempted to find a cure for the cosmic rust. However, any hope of a plague was quickly eroded, as any researchers or medical personnel were quickly consumed by the rust. Whole research outposts and hospitals were completely turned to dust overnight. The horrors of the plague spread so fast that it was quite often for Transformers to arrive on a planet just in time to see any civilization turn to dust. I don't even have a joke for this. The concept of this is just terrifying. Zeta Prime and his council would view a priority transmission in which a researcher would record how the plague had quickly worked itself through a ship and its crew. The researcher finished the transmission by revealing that he himself had become infected by the plague, and that his dying wish is that all ships, even suspected of containing the plague, must be completely obliterated in orbit before they can further spread the plague. Zeta Prime came to the spark-breaking decision to deactivate all of the space bridges that connected to Cybertron itself, completely cutting off all the colonies in the hopes that the plague would never spread to Cybertron itself. Knowing that some desperate Cybertronians would try to reactivate the space bridges in an attempt to save themselves, he also ordered all the space bridges be completely destroyed. A couple neat lore tidbits I have to add on here is that Prowl actually disobeyed Zeta Prime's orders and smuggled Bluestreak back onto Cybertron just before he destroyed his space bridge. Also, this is the reason why the Autobots make such a big deal out of the Decepticons having a functioning space bridge in the Kaon prison level, as it is likely that this is the last remaining functional space bridge on Cybertron. As time grew, the Cybertronians concluded that the Rust Plague had been halted from reaching Cybertron. However, the colony planets were unfortunately not doing so well. Now that they were completely cut off from Cybertron, those that weren't corrupted by the plague would eventually wither and die as their wells dried up, and Cybertronian life would come to a slow and quiet end on these colony planets, leaving graveyards not too dissimilar from those seen in the IDW comics, which, by the way, IDW will be an important part of a future Lore for Cybertron video theory, but besides that little tease, Zeta Prime's image would now be completely eroded by the stain of his decisions. While he did potentially save all of Cybertronian life from the plague, many would see his abandonment of the colony worlds as cruel and controversial. In the wake of the aftermath of the Rust Plague, Zeta Prime and the High Council met at Fort Psych, the location which trained the Autobot Elite Guard, and discussed functionism. The caste system had already effectively been in place on Cybertron for a while, however, there was no real law or government which created it. It was a societal thing, like the Jongleur. The council proposed the idea of turning the caste system into a rigid governmental structure, with Cybertronians serving certain roles throughout Cybertron and never being able to deviate from those roles. This form of government became so efficiently cruel that new Transformers born from the Well of Allsparks would be taught to transform and then immediately sent to work based off of what their natural alt mode was. Is functionism just communism but cooler? It totally is. The caste system was strictly enforced by the Guild of Cybertron, a sort of precursor to the Autobots, which would be responsible for keeping the lower castes in line, while the upper castes enjoyed a bountiful life provided by the lower caste. Low-ranking castes consisted of miners, haulers, manual laborers. Mid-ranking castes consisted of programmers, construction workers, civil engineers, data analysts, and cultural investigators. High-ranking castes consisted of scientists, artists, and politicians, basically backwards societal worth. Though this form of government was meant to solidify Cybertronian society after the great collapse of the Golden Age, it only deteriorated Cybertronian society further, and eventually former war veterans like Megatron would rise against the corrupt Senate and fight back against the functionist government, noting that if to speak the truth is to deceive, then he would be a Decepticon. So that has been a look at the Golden Age, the Rust Plague, and Functionism. These videos are meant to be kind of a precursor to the very first Lore for Cybertron video, going into detail on how the Cybertronian Civil War started. If you guys do want a more in-depth video on the War for Cybertron, discussing less of what happened in the games and more so what happened elsewhere, I will absolutely make this a trilogy. As a reminder, the link to the brand new Discord is in the description, and any fans of the Cybertron games are more than welcome. Anyway, thank you all so much for the support on this series. I didn't expect these videos to do very well compared to my Reactivate videos, but at this point it's become the opposite, with Lore for Cybertron performing much better than my Reactivate videos. So again, thank you all so much, I really can't say it enough. Till all are one.